Today we're going to talk about that pesky beast, imposter syndrome. And it's perfect timing because today, this is my second YouTube video of the day, the second one that I'm filming. The one before that, I stopped and started and stopped and started, and I didn't think that it was good enough. And this is an exact example of what happens when imposter syndrome just starts to... Your inner critic, that inner voice that doesn't think you're good enough, just starts to go on autopilot. And what should you do when that happens? You need to stop. You need to regroup. You need to find a way to get that voice to be quiet. Now, it's so incredibly frustrating for artists because we have so much art that needs to be expressed, but we never think that it's good enough because it never will be good enough. And you know why? Because we are constantly improving. We are constantly growing and expanding. That's why we have to produce that piece of art and then let it go. It's our job to make it and then release it and move on to the next one. We cannot be attached to any previous piece of art, or else we get completely stifled in terms of our creativity. And it's not just our creativity that gets stifled, it's the actual output. So an example from my own life has to do with my recordings. When I listen back to myself on recording, I am absolutely flabbergasted by what I hear because what I hear is good. And so I have a recording of my very first recital when I was in my 20s, like very, very early 20s. And it was a solo recital. It was so exciting. I had performed before, but this was my first like big recital. And there was a recording of it. And at the time listening to it, I thought it was crap. But listening back to it now, I think, wow, you were so good, little Fiona. Although I probably would have called myself Elizabeth because that's the name that I went by at that time. And so when I listen to every subsequent recording, it just blows my mind how much better I was than I thought I was and how deserving of being seen and heard I was at that time. And yet I didn't put myself out there anywhere near the degree that I could have because I didn't think I was good enough. Flash forward, I think to about 2006 when YouTube first hits the market, and I could have started my channel then, but did I? No, I didn't think I was good enough. Not only that, from time to time, a colleague would post a duet of us singing together, different colleagues, or a production company would post some clips of me singing, and I would want it to get taken down because I didn't think it was good enough. So, what I'm trying to say is you're not alone if you don't think that it's good enough. But you watching me now and seeing everything that I put out on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, you may think, oh, she's always been that way. No, no, I have not always had this confidence to put myself out there. And I do not always think that it's good enough. But the decision that I made, the mindset shift that I made was to get better in public and no longer just get better in private. And as artists and as teachers and coaches, that's our job. We have to get better in public because otherwise, who's ever going to experience our incredible gifts? Hi, I'm Fiona, and it's my passion and my purpose to help you with the mindset, marketing, and monetization that you need to become a profitable performer. And it's remarkable that the whole idea of wealth and profit and income is also tied up in imposter syndrome. You deserve to be profitable. You don't deserve to live as a starving artist. And yet many of us think that we have to pay our dues and pay our dues and pay our dues and go without and go without and go without because somehow we're not good enough when we don't deserve to actually make it. Because we think that making it has to do with somebody else discovering us instead of busting through the imposter syndrome and putting ourselves out there the way that we deserve to be out there, the way that we deserve to shine in the world. All right, follow me here on YouTube, on Instagram, join my free Facebook group. You know all the things, I'm on all the socials. Now let's get started with 7 tips that are gonna help you to handle this imposter syndrome, all right? Because you deserve to be booking the gigs, you deserve to be booking the roles, you deserve to be showing up confidently at auditions, you deserve to be the multi-passionate performing artist doing all the things that you know you're here to do. But if imposter syndrome, if that inner critic is telling you that you can't do them, then it is really fighting an uphill battle that does not have to be uphill. Are you with me? Okay, we're gonna go there. The first tip is because you have forgotten where your gifts come from. If you think that you, the human being, is solely responsible for this incredible gift of artistry or this incredible wisdom you have as a teacher, that you alone as this human being, that's it, that it begins and ends with you, then of course you feel small and meek and like an imposter, because that's not true. The truth is that your gifts are flowing to you from source. You're a divine vessel of source's inspiration. And so when you think about sharing your gifts, you have to remember that your gifts are bigger than you. You were given this voice, you were given this talent, you were given this ability for a reason. And that reason is to express it in the world, to make the world a better place, to touch people with your art, to share your wisdom. Now, I love the way Steven Pressfield talks about this in his book, The War of Art. He thinks of it in terms of the muses, like in Greek mythology, that the muses come and they infuse you with their ideas. However you want to think about it, just know that your art is more significant and more meaningful than you could ever know. And tip 2 is that you are efforting instead of allowing the inspiration to flow through you. And so when you are constantly thinking you need to work harder, you keep the creativity at a distance because you don't give yourself the space to enjoy your life. You don't give yourself the space to be in nature or to be wherever it is where the inspiration will flow through you. You don't give yourself the quiet or the fun, whatever it is that sparks creativity in you. So stop over-efforting and start caring for yourself. Number 3 is that you don't have community, you don't have cheerleaders. So many of us, and this was me, will think that we have community because we're performing in shows. I used to feel like I was part of the community because I was in the shows. But here's the thing, so many of the people that were in the shows with me were struggling with their own imposter syndrome, competitiveness, comparisonitis, and starving artist mindset. And so it wasn't until I started cultivating a community of inspired, like-minded performing artists that things really started to take off. It's one of the reasons that I prioritize community inside of my paid containers, especially the Profitable Performer Revolution. You can learn more about that in the link below, where community and accountability and partnering with each other is just a huge part of the process. Number 4 is that dragon of competition, that you're constantly thinking that resources are scarce and you're fighting for the students or the jobs or the roles, that you don't realize that that scarcity is an illusion. And it's an illusion that serves the producers, the managers, the labels, and not an illusion that serves you, the artist. So stop comparing yourself, stop competing with other people, and start building your own community. And then come together in community and start creating your own projects. Because one of the most deadly aspects of imposter syndrome is when that voice in your head starts comparing you to other people. So just cut it off before it starts and instead befriend those people. Wouldn't that be amazing? Isn't that like revolutionary? Okay, number 6 has to do with your inner work. Either you're not doing your inner work, you don't have support for your inner work, you're trying to DIY your inner work. Now, what do I mean by inner work? Inner work is that self-awareness. It's building character. It's looking at your patterns. It's looking at your shadow. Great place to start is with a book like The War of Art that I mentioned earlier. There are tons of great books. I could list them for days. Byron Katie's Loving What Is, Return to Love by Marianne Williamson, The Power of Now, Soul Without Shame. There are so many great books that you can use to get started. But books alone are only going to take you so far. And that's why I have invested in mentorship myself to help me with my inner work over many, many years. And I highly recommend that you cultivate friends and community who do this kind of work that you can talk to and share your journey with, and that you hire a mentor to help you with it as well. Because when you start to look at that shadow, when you start to really step into your greatness and let go of the old stories and limiting beliefs that are keeping you playing small, this is when you absolutely bust through the imposter syndrome and everything starts to shift dramatically. And then number 7, your why is just too damn small. What do I mean by your why? I mean, why are you performing? Why are you teaching or coaching? Why are you doing this particular live or this particular performance? Why? It's got to go deep. It can't be just because I want more followers, or just because I want to get a record deal, or just because I want to become famous, or just because I want to make lots of money. Your why has to be so compelling that it makes you light up from the inside and nothing can stand in your way. When I think of showing up for this YouTube video, or when I think of showing up for my audience or for my clients, it's because I want to tear down the system that makes performing artists feel like they are less than. I want to change the world. I want this world to be an artist-friendly place where artists feel truly empowered to create art, because I know that that changes the world. I know the power of art. So when I think about the power of art and I think about my place in the ecosystem supporting artists, I get lit up with a fire within. What lights you up? What makes it so meaningful for you to show up? If you haven't thought about it, start thinking about it right now. Everything will change for you. Your imposter syndrome simply cannot stand up in the face of your intense knowing of your real why. This is also the inner work. Do your inner work. Okay, so this is something that I do always inside of my programs. I give action steps, and I want to give you action steps with this particular video. Okay, so I'm going to look at my notes and I'm going to give you the action steps. Ready? Get out a pen and paper. All right, start doing your inner work and create some kind of community to help you, to witness your journey, to do it together. This could look like joining an Artist's Way group. It could look like starting a book club where you come together and you practice what you learn in the books. It could look like you and just one friend who go all in with one specific technique, like the limiting beliefs work inside of Byron Katie's Loving What Is. Think about hiring a one-to-one mentor if you never have. Now for me, it was one of my first singing teachers who opened up my whole spiritual, psychological, emotional journey by sharing books with me and talking with me about them. Or join a program like the Profitable Performer Revolution, which prioritizes not just the strategy, but also the mindset work, because they have to go together. You have to have the up-leveled mindset with the practical strategies in order to really be successful. Most importantly, your inner work does not have to be lonely work. Yes, we sometimes make discoveries in the peace and quiet of our own minds in solitude, but we sometimes make discoveries together in community. And we always need people to witness our journeys. So don't feel like you have to do this alone, all right? So many of us feel super comfortable sharing when things go wrong, but do you have people in your life that you can celebrate with? Inside Prosperity, my membership community, every Friday, I invite and encourage the performers inside the group to celebrate their wins. And I go first. I always post in that thread. Do you have people in your life you can celebrate with? Well, I sure hope that all this talk about imposter syndrome was useful and is going to start you on the path to claiming your greatness instead. If you want my support, come join my free Facebook community. Subscribe to this channel, follow me on Instagram, consider joining my program PPR. I'm just an email or a message away. And if you thought this video was useful, you probably will find these videos useful as well. Now, as always, go out into the world and let your light shine. You deserve to be heard, and the world deserves to hear you.